Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a post-match point in association with Purity Ale. If you use the code #VillaView, you will get 10% off all of Purity's beer and ale goodness. And just a quick one before we do start, they've got a little poll running on their Twitter at the moment because they're bringing out some special cans to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Villa's famous 1982 European Cup triumph. I mean, I've dressed it up big there, hoping that the image is going to appear on the screen while I'm padding. John Ainsley's in charge. It has not. The image may or may not appear. There it is, as if by magic. So, yeah, there's a little poll going on Twitter at the moment. If you want my personal choice, I like the middle one. That would be the one I would be going for, option 2. Omar, you feel the same?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, isn't it? It's going to be
the
favourite. No doubt about that.
It has to be.
Everyone loves a round badge, don't they?
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah, there's an obsession with the round badge in general, so I'd be absolutely shocked if that middle one did not win. But yeah, go on to Purity's Twitter and you'll be able to have the vote, and I'm sure that beer will be absolutely delightful as well. Enough beer talk. Unfortunately, Omar and myself have convened to talk about Aston Villa 0, Tottenham Hotspur 4. But we did win the XG, Omar, and that's always important.
Yeah, that's all that matters, isn't it? We're on that's the real quiz.
Yeah, exactly. No one cares about the rest. I mean, Arsenal lost to Brighton as well at the weekend and having won the XG. So a bad weekend for XG fanatics all over the place. But I mean, the first half, everything that's good about Villa probably when they're ticking without scoring. The second half, everything that's bad about Villa without scoring.
Yeah.
And then conceding 3 as well.
Oh, it's tough, isn't it? A really, really, really tough game to preview. I don't envy us. I'm sure others don't envy us reviewing this game. The first goal went in, you thought, well, yeah, it's sort of same old story against Spurs. We've lost them so many times at home, haven't we? But then the way that we played that first half after that goal, I don't know if the goal changed something in us or whether we were going to play like that anyway. It's always hard to know. But the way we played after that and how we controlled the game, we were camped in their half, the chances we created, just a general play. This is against a Spurs side who are banging form. We've absolutely dominated them. A bit like the Chelsea game away, if you remember under Dino.
Oh yeah,
when we battered them and we couldn't score. It was a very similar to that. It's probably it was definitely the best we played under Gerrard, and maybe a glimpse of the way that we can play with the players that we have. But also, I think it's a perfect match because it shows you the way that we can play with the players going forward, but also shows you where our frailties are, where our limitations are as well, and where we need to improve next season. So I think if you didn't look at any of the game in the season, just looked at that game, I think that would be enough for you to take away and decide what to do in the summer. But it's just really frustrating because not finishing chances is we haven't really been creating that much, I don't think.
Yeah, that was the bizarre thing.
And for us to create that much against Spurs, against a very good side, was that not what we expected, but then not to finish the chances. I've seen people say, I don't know what you think, but I've seen people say, we need better strikers, but we've lumped 60 odd million on Ings and Watkins. Watkins scored 14 goals last season. Ings has been consistently one of the best strikers outside the top 4. I mean, what else can you do really, apart from buy those types of players and spend that much money? I'm just a bit perplexed by it all, to be honest.
Unfortunately, I think I cursed Danny Ings on the preview. Because I said, well, really, he hasn't scored that many goals, but I don't remember him missing loads of chances. Unfortunately, on Saturday, him and Watkins did miss loads of chances. And, there weren't a load of the players have had chances. Well, I think Ramsey was very, very unlucky with his. It was a great drive into the box. That's what he's capable of. I've seen Lloris have some bad games this season. Unfortunately, he had a really good one against us in the first half. I think he made 7 saves alone in that first half period. It was a great response from Villa from falling behind because so often we've said this season, well, once you concede, not even this season, actually, throughout time, you concede one, heads drop, you'll invariably concede another one straight after. That didn't happen, and we really played on that front foot. Let's look at the first goal then, because you can dress it up how you like. It's a poor header from Konsa. It's unfortunate the way it's fell to him, and Son's finish was absolutely clinical, but it's a pretty simple ball to deal with, I would say. The Spurs haven't reinvented the wheel with the long ball forward there. And Konsa's just headed it into a dangerous area, and it's the kind of header he would not have made last season.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened to him. I saw it. I mean, last year, some people were comparing him to Maguire in terms of his ability to defend, his natural ability to defend. And yeah, I saw the comparisons in terms of, how calm and collected he was, how easy defending was to him. But I always said, he's had one good season. Let's wait and see. And I'm not saying he's a bad player at all. Quite the opposite. No. I think it's probably lack of confidence. Obviously, been in and out the side a little bit as well with injuries and suspensions and things like that. But it's such a basic error. He's jumped too early. And he's almost headed it on the way back down, hasn't he? So that's why he hasn't got any power on it. And I mean, I know we concentrate on the first goal, but I just think throughout that game, just simple long balls.
All the goals have come from basics.
But it's something you wouldn't even see in non-league football, really. That's the kind of thing. That's the absolute basics of football is dealing with long balls and picking up second balls. That is the absolute basics of football.
The second balls, that is something, again, that we are terrible at.
Awful.
Really, but possibly the worst. I mean, I don't know because I don't analyse the second balls for every team, but it feels like we must be up there with the chance for the worst in the division at picking up second balls, both in attack and defence, which never seem to have players on the scene when the ball drops. Never.
I always think with the Villa game, I get this sense where if we win the first few second balls, I always think we're in with a chance because we look like we're up for it. As soon as we start losing that second ball, I always worry about us, and it is always that way. I know it's a complete minor thing in football. It doesn't matter, everyone looks at stats. No one looks at second ball stats or anything like that. It's pointless. But at the same time, just set the pace, set the tempo for the team and for the game. And I think if we're losing those second balls, we're not challenging those second balls, then it just sets a bad tempo. And straight away the opposition team are in your half normally, and they can build an attack from there, and you're struggling. And as we saw in that game, but just really basics. And again, I think if we're going to pick on one player, Luiz, I think again you saw the best and worst of him, much like you saw the best and worst of Aston Villa. We can talk about Conte. It was an error. It's his fault. Majority, but also
I wouldn't even say it's his fault. I think it's just a poor header, and then it's a bad reaction to what's happened. We were saying before we came on, or I was speculating because I don't know the answer to this question at all. The ball's hit Cash, and the shot's going well wide from Kane. So could you argue that Cash should have maybe been a bit narrower, covering off the goal, and then Kane shoots and just goes wide, doesn't it? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Difficult. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think there's so many players that can do better there. There's got to be someone there picking, because obviously Kane's just sort of dropped off. And there's no one there at all. Luiz is the other side of him. And what I was saying about Luiz is, he was, after that first goal, he was one of our best players, I thought, in that first start.
He used the ball very well.
He used the ball so well. His forward balls in between the lines, that is something that someone like Nakamba can't do, I don't think. And that shows you the worth of Luiz and building those attacks up. But then that first goal also shows you the worst of Luiz because, I think if that was Nakamba, he's probably a bit closer to that second ball. Maybe not, not where Kane picked it up, because I think it was no one expected Conte to head it just straight to his feet. Expected to get a bit more purchase on the ball. But at the same time, I think Luiz, that's not a natural thing for Luiz to pick up that second ball. Anticipation in and around that sort of second ball was not his natural game.
Especially against the better teams, I would say.
Yeah. And I suppose the other thing as well you have to factor in is, I don't know what the stats are for this, but the amount of teams who seem to score wonder goals against us and score like goal, like that was a Villa player. There's no way anyone in our team, even McGinn, who's left-footed, is hitting that on his left foot and scoring.
That's his weaker foot's on as well. It's an incredible finish. That's Villa. Even if the player does get it somewhere near the goal, it probably hits the post and pings it back out at the moment.
Like the second goal as well. I know we haven't come on to that yet, but I mean, Mings has sort of seen him quite wide out there. And normally, any other team, it would be one of the Villa players that just wouldn't go in. But for some reason, teams seem to score those hard to score goals against us, and it's just really frustrating.
I mean, I don't think Martinez has touched the ball with his hands in that game.
Hasn't made a save, has he?
Has he touched the ball with his hands? I'm not blaming him for any of the goals. I think there was much he could do. I
think they're 6 shots on target, 4 goals. I think that they have.
I can't remember a save off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but
we've got the stats coming up on the screen shortly. Here we go. Yeah. I mean, Lloris 8 saves. Jeez, we've actually had more of the possession against a very good side as well. I mean, you could argue that Spurs probably didn't need the ball at 4-0 up, so that's probably played something towards it. But, we've outpassed them there. We've dominated that first half and created a lot of chances. Their goalkeeper's been the busier of the goalkeeper. If you were just coming in now, having seen nothing of the game, you look at those stats, it's like a FIFA game. Like the game's rigged. What's going on? Why have I lost this game? Look at the stats. I've absolutely dominated you and I've lost 4-0. Which is the way it's not even the way things are at the moment, because I thought we'd lose. And as soon as we went 1-0 down, I turned to my dad and said, "Let's game over there." Because you just think, oh, there'll be another goal soon and we won't get back into the game. But actually, the reaction to the goal was so good. We played some of the best stuff we've played all season. All that was missing was the final touch. And yeah, you can't legislate for the goalkeeper having a world-class performance in the first half. The Ramsey one, I don't think he's done much wrong. I think that's just a great save. The Coutinho free kick, it's a lovely hit. Another wonderful save from Lloris. Another day, it kind of comes down off the line and hits him and goes in or something, but he doesn't. And again, nobody on the scene to knock the rebound in, which is a little bit disappointing. But the Watkins and Ings chances, he was on Match of the Day too. Alan Shearer was kind of saying, "Why is Ings going to ground when he's got these chances to shoot?" Very unlike him to be that cold in front of goal. Usually he's ice cold in front of goal, but here he just looked cold, but didn't look like he believed that he was going to score. The Watkins header, just no penetration in what he's doing at all. Just half-hearted, it felt to me. Just knocking it over the bar. No confidence that he's gonna hit the target and make the goalkeeper work. And we've created a hell of a lot of chances in that first half. A bit like the Southampton game, actually. We created a lot of chances in the first half in that game, although Southampton aren't as good a side as Spurs. But, they can do it. These players can do it. We finished a couple of chances in the first half against Southampton. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to do it against Spurs. But Spurs were flying before that game, and we've outclassed them in that first half. But the difference is that cutting edge, and we haven't really had it for a lot of the season.
Yeah, and the other end, we've had individual mistakes that have been, it's been littered really. Our season's been littered with individual mistakes, and I can't really put my finger on it. You sort of look at it, and there's been, I think consistency is obviously one thing. I don't think we haven't consistently performed like we did in that first half against Spurs for a sustained period of the season. We haven't really had a great run of games where we performed game in, game out. We've had sort of halves here and there. And Gerrard said that's on him. But I think
is it though? Because it's two different managers. I don't know. It's for me, the players are the common denominator.
Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, I was having this conversation. It's like I think Gerrard's made mistakes, definitely.
Yeah, of course he has.
And whether he's the right man to replace Dino, we'll have to wait and see. You have to back him. Obviously, you have to back him in the summer to get his own players in. But there's just so much. I feel like there's so many different things, so many different aspects to it, and you can't really put your finger on one thing. I think the fact that we've hired Dean Smith, we've had his backroom staff, we had Perslow, Langer, McKenzie, all these people, and they want to play a certain way. They've bought players. The owners have spent a lot of money to buy players to fit a certain style. To then, obviously, we've got to change manager, but then we've changed to a manager who plays it a completely different way, albeit a similar formation, but a different way that needs different personnel. And invariably, what's going to happen is you're going to end up with a squad where at least half those players aren't fit for purpose because they don't play that way. They don't play to their strengths. So, for example, Target and Cash, who are probably better defensively than going forward, although Cash has obviously improved this season, that was probably suited to the Dino Smith style, with playing with wingers. Whereas, Gerrard likes those high fullbacks pushing on. So then you've got to, buy, resell, start again. Midfield, you need a different type of player. Wingers, we've bought Bailey, Traore, you've got Trezeguet, Ghazi, obviously, who are on the way out as well. Players like that who play a certain way. Now we're playing a much narrower style. So then you have to, again, reassess and go again. So I think there's you can go all the way from the top to Perslow really and say, all the way down to the players themselves, the coaching staff. You can go all the way through, and everyone's made mistakes, I think.
You're not going to get every buy right.
Exactly.
No one ever gets every buy right.
But at the same time, then you think, could you bowl better player than Ings as a striker? Well, maybe in terms of, fitting our style and that kind of stuff. But as a out and out finisher, there's not many better in the Premier League in our that we could get in that price range. So then people are like, oh, well, you sell. It's very easy to say, well, let's get 2 new strikers and get better strikers. But every signing you make is a risk, and you're gonna have to spend. If you want to get a proven striker who's going to score you 15, 20 goals, you're going to have to spend 60, 70, 80 million pounds realistically.
And they got to want to come, which is 60, 17 million pound striker doesn't want to come and play with the team not in Europe.
With the wages as well that come along with that as well. So, what do you do? Do you buy someone like Patson Daka, Leicester, or who's again, a good player, but will take time to adjust. So, I think they've tried to do a lot of the right things, but it's just unfortunate. It's football, isn't it? You can't get everything right. But I think the summer's a massive summer for us, isn't it? I think there's key positions in centre back, midfield, and maybe striker that needs to be that needs to be fixed.
Yeah, definitely. Another problem is that, you know, we've bought these 3 players to replace Jack Grealish. Can't really play one of them at a time.
Yeah.
With the current team that we've got. Two 30 million plus players are going to be sat on the bench every week. Only the way we play, only one can get in the team.
Buendia is really, I feel really harsh. I think it's really harsh that he's not in this side. I feel for him massively because I think, he was our best player before we decided to go with Ings, Watkins. I know we were winning many games and I get that. And we started winning games when we played Ings, Watkins and Coutinho. But every time he's come on, he's done the job. He's made something happen. I feel for him because I think he's been one of our best players. But unfortunately, when you get a new manager, this is the kind of thing that happens. Gerrard wants Coutinho. Coutinho's a world-class player on his day. Whether there needs to be a bit more flexibility in that, away games, maybe Buendia plays rather than Coutinho, because I think Coutinho's a much better player at home. Then again, that's a topic for discussion. But Bailey, can you see a future for him? I'm not too sure.
I'm just bemused by it because I was so excited about that signing. I'd watched a fair bit of him in Germany, and I know he's a top-class player because I've watched him in the Bundesliga, and I know his stats and numbers last season were up there with the likes of Gnabry, Coman. So, this guy's not a joker. No. He's a very, very good player, but he's walked into the building at Villa, just been injured the whole time.
Yeah.
No, and then you're coming onto the pitch in fits and spurts. I mean, I said in the last post-match review we did, he played Sanson and Bailey played that game. It's no good throwing him in for one game and then that's it and writing him off the next one. And that's exactly what's happened again. Neither of them are ever going to do anything unless they get a run of games. But we've got such a mishmash of players in the squad at the moment. You can't really afford to give those players a game. I would say if you look at the formation that would probably suit us and get 2 of the 3 £30 million players into the side, it would probably be 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
Then Ramsey doesn't get in the team probably. And he's been one of our best players this season. So we've got this collection of players now, like you say, that arguably some aren't fit for what the new manager wants to do. And it's hard. But we're not in a position to just go around writing people off and selling Bailey for half price in the summer. I don't see how that's an option for us. I don't see what the worth is of that. You've got to try and get something out of these players and hope with the full pre-season he'll get his fitness, because he was a signing who was a level above us in the summer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected us to be able to attract someone like that. Leon Bailey probably could have gone to a better team, a team at least in the Europa League, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been a disaster class for us, really.
Yeah, and that's a little bit on Gerrard as well. I think he's not. There's some blame attached to him as well, because people might say well, they're not his players and all this kind of stuff, but a good manager gets the best out of the players. You've seen
Vieira at Palace.
Conte. I know Conte's playing with Spurs and he's got world class players. I get.
Well, Vieira at Palace. There's players there who are journeyman, Schlupp, MacArthur.
Yeah,
they look way better under Gerrard than I've ever seen them look before. Not under Gerrard, sorry, under Vieira than I've ever seen them look before.
And Moyes initially as well. He came into that West Ham. I know he's had 3 seasons there now, but he came into that side initially. None of them were his players, and he's not really. They've not spent shed loads of money since he's been there. They've bought 1 or 2
They'd like
players.
To, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But that you've got to try.
But they can't get a striker in. That's the thing. We're saying we need a striker that's fit for purpose. West Ham have wanted a striker for 2 years. They're in a far better position than us.
Exactly.
They can't find one. They can't get one.
And you can't just continue spending money. And I think we need to be careful. I mean, the good thing is, we're still fairly comfortable mid-table. Although, we're way off the points total.
I'm trying to look at it though and thinking we might finish 15th, 16th there.
Yeah, I think so. I think even someone like Newcastle might finish above us, maybe even Leeds.
Brentford.
I think that's the way the season's going. Unfortunately, I think with Luka Dean going out as well, I think that's only going to make it worse. But
another one we saw on a player can't stay fit.
Can't stay fit, exactly, and it's just it is a part of it is luck as well. But I do think we can't just go and just sell 11 players and buy another 11 players, because there's got to come to a point in time where, and this is going back to my point with Thursday. If you're going to decide to play a certain type of football with a certain type of strategy, formation, philosophy, then you've got to then have a continuity in there. So you can't then just go hire someone like Gerrard who plays a completely different style just because he's a big name. I think I'm not saying it's a wrong decision. I'm saying from now on in, we need to come, there needs to be some sort of continuity, because you can't just, what you'll end up with is what was happened to us in the past, what's happened to Spurs in the past, Everton as well, where you end up with a squad built by 4 different managers.
Oh, that's the nightmare. That's what you don't want.
And that's the way it's going to go. And we're sort of halfway there already. We need to just be a little bit careful of how we do this, because there's definitely players that are probably surplus to requirements, and that El Ghazi, Trezeguet will go, no doubt.
Traoré will probably go,
but again, Traoré, I think he's he's a good player. He's done well for us last season, and you're just writing him off just like that. And I know he's been
another one
injured
that's
as well.
had injuries all season. It's just been one of
Exactly.
them seasons. Bailey and Traore have both spent the whole season on the treatment table. I mean, I've got a stupid little rhyme going through in my head about Luca Dean at the moment. He's either not fit or he needs a shit. Like these are the things that we're dealing with this season. There's just nothing. In terms of things like that, there's been a lot of weird goings on this season.
It's been unlucky.
You sign a player and they can't stay fit.
But I'm saying you can't just because they haven't been fit this season doesn't necessarily mean they won't be fit next season. You can't just write them off.
And Gerrard needs a pre-season to get his methods across properly, get the fitness levels up. He'll need that. It's hard to come in mid-season. But the thing that alarms me is at the start, I felt like the players were really hungry to impress him. I was seeing good performances even in losses. Every defeat until Saturday has been by one goal, I think. Obviously, we've been absolutely whitewashed in the end on Saturday. But, when we were losing games at the start under Gerrard, we lost to Man City, we lost to Liverpool, you're thinking, we've given it a good go there.
Yeah.
We're really good. And they were playing for him, and I felt like they were a little bit scared of him. I don't feel that now. The collapse in the second half tells me that that's not there anymore.
No, yeah. I mean, I think that the key positions are obviously right centre-back and defensive midfield. They're the two ones we need to get right and spend big money on. And I think the rest we can possibly get away with, to be honest. And I think you saw that first half where, they didn't finish their chances, Watkins and Ings, but on the day, they're still good strikers. So I don't think you completely write them off based on one game.
No, not at all.
And I think if we do get those two key players in, then maybe you'll see a different side, and confidence is so important. You win games, and then that just breeds a good mentality, and it leads on to other good games and other good wins. So I think we need to just be careful. I think it's easy to say, we need to get rid of X, Y, and Z player, but I think it's going to be very difficult to do that. And these owners have pumped a lot of money in. They're not just going to accept finishing 10th to 14th. They're going to want to see improvement. So at the same time, they're not going to keep pumping 100 odd million each year, because it's just not sustainable. So I think we just need to be. I'm hopeful the guys are, they understand about. I guess we'll see what our strategy is in summer. I imagine we'll see 2 or 3 out, 2 or 3 in. I'll be shocked if we see any more than that. And I wouldn't really want to see any more than that, to be honest, because as many of those players that we think are not fit for purpose, I think it's going to be very difficult. Again, we saw a lot of movement this summer, which we didn't expect until obviously Jack left. And you saw how that works. It takes players time to bed in. The squad getting to know each other, play together, it takes time. It's very rare you see them click straight away. So again, we don't want another season of transition. I think we've had a couple of seasons of that. We saw the season where we stayed up, the season before where we sort of cemented ourselves in the league, and this season we're hoping to push on, and it's had to be a bit of a season transition because we had to change manager and Jack's left. So I don't want to see that again next season. I think we need to, the owners will definitely want to see some sort of improvement next season.
Well, got away from the game, unsurprisingly. Let's talk about the second half then, the half that none of us want to talk about at all. You've come out, and I was at half-time. I said to the guys, Lee sat next to me, like, in that half, we're losing 1-0. I'm happy with what I've seen. I'm thinking, okay, they've done well there. They've not scored, but I've seen something. So second half now, there's still some reason for optimism. I'll take that. I'll take being 1-0 down and playing well than being 1-0 down and having done absolutely nothing and it being terrible.
Yeah.
So you're feeling relatively confident going into the second half. But as is Villa's way, bad goal at a bad time again. It came from another long ball, didn't it? The second one initially. It's a lovely finish from Kulusevski. Konsa's got sucked in a little bit I'm trying to think if it was the second one or the third. I'm trying to remember the goals now.
Second one,
because they all feel the same. Konsa's got sucked in. Bit stupid, in my opinion. But then I've also seen some stuff on Twitter, which is fair, where people are saying he's only getting sucked in because the defensive midfielder isn't where he's supposed to be. I mean, I would say there, what defensive midfielder? Because it's pretty obvious at this point now, we just don't have one. So Konsa's got sucked into Kane. It was almost like we'd never seen Harry Kane play before. That was quite alarming. I mean, I know that Harry Kane likes to drop deep. You think that, the actions on the pitch might signify that someone in the team should think, if Kane's dropping deep, we should probably pick him up. But they don't. All finds its way to Kulusevski, who's manoeuvred himself and got a great shot away. We were talking about XGs before the game, like at the start of the show. I don't imagine the XG on that shot was particularly high. Mings has kind of shepherded him into a decent position, but it's kind of gone through him. Martinez has got no chance again, and Kulusevski's been a fantastic signing for Tottenham. But they're 2-0. It's another little bit of a mistake, in my opinion. But even at 2-0, I'm thinking, if I'm a Villa player, you're saying, okay, we've conceded again, but we have caused this team trouble for that first 45 minutes. If we can get a goal back, there's still something to be had here.
Yeah.
We concede a third, really poor goal again. Son the freedom of the park, running through the middle of the goal, never going to miss because Son doesn't miss, especially against Villa this season. And then it becomes 4. It's just like, we've give up. And that's disappointing. And Gerrard keeps going on about every game in the post-match. He says about it's been a 45-minute team. But nothing is changing. We're still that 45-minute team, game in, game out. Sometimes even in games we've won, you'd say, we were good for 45 minutes and we got away with it in the second 45, or the first 45 wasn't good, but we've rallied in the second. But again, I don't think this is a Steven Gerrard problem. I think we were saying similar things under Dean Smith. Kind of, if we had a bad half, we'd hope that the good half was coming. But we've never been a one-half team for a while.
Yeah. I think so. I think it's on the players mainly. I think Gerrard's not, again, there's still some blame attached to him in terms of certain substitutions, but I think definitely the players' mentality.
Subs too late again, I would say.
Subs too late, wrong players sometimes as well, especially in the previous game. But I think definitely the players there. And I think that second goal, I think you look at that and you think, firstly, Konza, he puts no challenge in whatsoever. It's so easy. They're similar height, and he's just sort of lent back into him, hasn't he? And it's just nothing. It's just so easy, so simple. And then Cash misses that clearance. It was maybe a difficult one, but whatever. And I think Mings has initially done the right thing by getting him wide to the left, but then he's sort of showing him on his left foot. His body shape's like that. So I'm thinking that's just that is basic defending. You've got to sort of go the other side of him because he's left.
Because you're kind of not blocked off the side of the goal.
Yeah, exactly. I sort of understand because he's trying to take him away from goal. So maybe it's hard to say. It's easy for me to say, but in the heat of the moment, it's difficult. But at the same time, you got to he's left-footed. He's got an excellent shot on him, and so you got to be blocking that off. You can't. Your body shape is completely wrong. I think you got to be a little bit more square on there. And the third goal is the worst goal out of all of them.
It was shocking.
It was
shocking.
I've just completely, because even I was the same. The second goal went in. I thought we played so well that first half, and
we kind of thought that's a shame.
That's a shame.
They've scored another early goal.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought, fair enough, it happens, and it was a good finish as well. But you sort of ruin your luck a little bit, saying how has he managed to finish that? But then the third goal was just embarrassing. Like really, really, like I said, you wouldn't even see that in non-league football. You'd very rarely see it in Sunday League football.
I played football Friday night and there was none of that 11 aside.
Yeah.
None of that defended.
It's just so easy, isn't it? Just a simple ball. We really struggle with that long ball as well. I don't know what it is about us.
We really struggle with the ball. That's general. The key thing in football, we just struggle with the ball on and off it. We just struggle with that ball.
It's so simple. It's like watching Premier League football in 1991, lump it up to the big man, knock it on, and the player runs onto it. Like, it's really easy.
It was a bit like that.
It was just really easy. And to be honest, I just given up by then, so I wasn't even paying attention for the fourth goal. But
Rod Wallace running onto a Brian Dean flick on.
Great shout. Yeah, I was thinking Niall Quinn Phillips, which is obviously early 2000s. But
I was trying to go back to the early 90s.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good shout. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have some fun.
Trying to think of another one.
Sorry.
I was trying to think Noel Whelan and Dion Dublin. No, that don't work, does it? No.
Huckabee and Dublin.
Huckabee and Dublin. That's a good one. Yeah. But yeah, no, really, really, really poor. And I think just the amount of, we didn't have this. I mean, maybe towards the end of last season we did, but we were so solid last season, and even under Gerrard initially, we were so solid. We hardly make any mistakes, and now we've just made so many individual mistakes that. It's just, how do you get rid of them? It's definitely a mentality thing. Is it a concentration thing? Is it fitness? Is it losing focus? What is it? Do we need better players? But there's not just one player making mistakes. There's numerous different players make mistakes throughout the, whether it's finishing, whether it's that final ball, whether it's missing a tackle, whether it's a misplaced pass, or whether it's defending. Every single player, pretty much. Martinez himself, our world-class goalkeeper, is still world-class for Argentina, hasn't been great for us this season at all. Again, another player who struggled this season. So it's just like, I'm sort of out of ideas. I don't really know what you do. You can't replace the whole squad. You can't replace the whole team based on...
Well, I'm sure Twitter would.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
Everyone off.
Yeah. But you have to be pragmatic about these things. And I think, you're right. Maybe a pre-season, get them focused, get them ready, get their confidence up. You need to win a few games to get the confidence going as well. And then maybe a couple of big personalities as well, maybe to change things a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Tyrone Mings stripped of the captaincy. As much as
I thought that interview was so weird.
So weird. Was it before the game or after the game?
It was before the game.
I
think it might have been in the post-match presser talking about.
There's a few.
I don't think you should be talking about things like that in a press conference.
There's a few things that, and then he's blamed the players a few times now, Gerrard, post the game as well. Which it is the players' fault, but all managers, just back their players. They take the brunt of it, and I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it's the right thing. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm not a Premier League manager at the end of the day. But doing that before the game, I'm not.
Do you think it's one of them things again where he's a bit like Roy Keane as a manager? I've seen this levelled somewhere. I don't know where I've seen it. I've seen it somewhere in the Villa sphere.
Yeah.
Of standards are just so high because he was such a good player. The players are going to struggle to meet the level he was as a player. We haven't got any players that were as good as him. Have we?
No.
Maybe Coutinho. It's just a simple fact, isn't it? And players make mistakes. But I don't think calling them out, and I don't think talking about the captaincy before the game, to me, that's not the right thing.
No. Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. Maybe you have to give him a chance to implement.
I don't think Mings has been a problem recently either. I would say.
I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say. I wouldn't really blame him for. I mean, apart from that second goal, I think there's a bit of blame there attached to him. But I don't really see that he did too much wrong in that game. Konsa has been way worse this season. And if Mings was making those mistakes that Konsa was, then
Mings has made mistakes for sure.
Of course he has. Of course he has. And
he gets called out.
And I don't think he should be assured of a first team place at all. I wouldn't be averse to improving on him. I've no problem with that. I think doing it so publicly is a different matter. But I think
you're going to struggle to get a left-sided centre back.
Yeah, of course.
Who doesn't cost the earth.
I think we when he's out of the team, you see the difference. When Konsa's out of the team, you don't see the difference as much.
Well, I would say Mings and Chambers recently was looking a better partnership to me. They're both very vocal. They were both. It felt like they were keeping each other on their toes. It felt like they had a decent relationship. I was watching them too quite closely. I had a different vantage point for the Southampton game, that sitting in a different place where I usually do. And I was noticing how much those two were on each other through the whole 90 minutes. And we kept a clean sheet in that game. I just think Chambers should probably be in the team at the moment. I don't think he should have come out. I think he initially came out because he hadn't trained much in the week, so he missed out to Konsa. But if I'm Chambers, I'm sat there watching that game thinking, I should be playing the next one. Yeah, absolutely. I should 100% be in the team against Leicester because Konsa was wayward. I'll point back to what I said at the start. Okay, he's been caught out for 3 of the goals, in my opinion, Konsa, but is he putting himself into positions that he shouldn't have to go in because of the midfield situation? I don't know. For better football people than me to unpick that. But if I'm Callum Chambers, I'm thinking I deserve to be in that team at the moment, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think he's put a foot wrong, has he? And I sort of understand why Konsa came back in the side, but at the same time, I think he just hasn't played well at all since he's been back in the side. And Chambers, has, like I said, he's gone off. He's not played. He's been dropped or lost his place or whatever, based on some really good performances. So it's not like he's put a foot wrong. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back in the side. But I think that even then, I think in the summer, we need to improve on that in that position, that centre-back position, whether it's the left side or right side. We need a top-class centre-back, someone who can play. I think the problem we've got is, again, it's a bit like the midfield. We've got Chambers, who's excellent on the ball in terms of bringing the ball out and playing passes from defence. But I think on the turn, in terms of his pace, that's where Konsa's better, as a defender. And then you've got in midfield, you've got Luiz, who's excellent. What you saw the first half, building up play, starting our plays up, great distribution, good on the ball, just an excellent ball.
Sorry to interrupt. Luiz would be great as a deep midfielder with another deep midfielder next to him, because you'd have the one who was the enforcer and him doing the passing through the lines and stuff.
I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that formation.
Or he can play. But in the formation we play, I think he's an 8.
Yeah.
But we've got no one else to play. I was a bit surprised that Nakamba didn't even get any minutes at all. We're 4-0 down. Get him on for 15, 20 minutes. Just give him a run around, get his feet, because we need him back in the team. We need him back in the team. I think it's quite simple that he needs to play at the moment.
I do think we need to. I think I'm a bit surprised, and I'm a bit not annoyed, but disappointed that we haven't switched to midfield. We haven't played 4-2-3-1. Because I think it's been obvious all season that we've been lacking, apart from when Nakamba was in the side, we've been lacking protection for that back 4. And Dino did it last season, and I think
you could say that was when we were at our best last season, with Luiz and McGinn sitting
as a 2,
Barkley as a 10, Grealish on the left, and Troy around the right with Watkins up front.
You could say Ramsey's at the side, but Ramsey's still a young lad, and I don't think he's been at his best for a while now. He's had spells in games where he's performed.
He's good in the first half against.
He's good in the first half, but he's had spells again, and I think there's no reason why. He's still a young lad. There's no reason why you can't give him a bit of time out of the team. And I think a 4-2-3-1 with Coutinho as the 10, with the wingers that we have, wouldn't have been a bad idea. And I'm a bit surprised. And I'm a bit, I still get a little bit annoyed that we sort of stick to the same high fullbacks with the number 8s, covering the fullbacks, and we end up with this weird formation when we're
I
on
felt like it had
transition.
gone a little bit, but it felt like it was back again at the weekend.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the players of the. I don't know. It's hard to say. We don't know what goes on in the back behind the scenes, whether it's the manager, whether it's the players. Because I've seen Gerrard say they're not implementing my ideas. He said that before, hasn't he? So maybe it is the players, but I just think we're so open on the transition, and we've seen
killer. It's killed us all
so
season.
much all season. And I think having 2 in midfield just be a bit like when Gerrard first came in. He said, "I'm just going to make us a bit solid first, and then look to implement new ideas." I just think we've been struggling so much this season, even under Gerrard, that why not play 2 in midfield? And we tried playing McGinn as a number 6, which was an absolute failure.
Yeah, we'll never say that again.
But him as one of 2, I think, could work, and it has worked in the past. So I don't know.
Because he can be combative in there. McGinn is one thing he's very, very, very good at. But I know you're taking away the natural parts of his game a little bit. But I feel like we're doing that at the moment anyway in 4-3-3.
Yeah, and the thing is that we did that last season. We did take a part of his game, but we had Grealish. This season we've got Coutinho. If you're playing as number 10, he keeps finding those spaces. He's so good at finding those spaces in between the lines that no matter who's playing against, he picks up spaces and he moves around and he's so good at, even on the tight turn with the players in and around him, he can make space for himself. And I think you might see, someone like Coutinho there, Buendia and Traore, or Bailey and Buendia as the wingers, or maybe Watkins and Buendia as the wingers. That might work. It might be an idea. But I'm just surprised we haven't tried it. But I think Gerrard's committed to the way that he wants to play, and he's going to have to find the players that are going to fit that formation. And I suppose you want a manager who sticks to his principles, don't you?
It's the same with any manager. Every manager's got a system. Really, in the main, it's easy to say, but Pep and Klopp don't ever change the formations. I know they win most weeks. They've got a philosophy, they've got a formation. They very rarely change it. They just do little subtle tweaks. So that's Guardiola did that yesterday against Liverpool. He made a slight tweak to his system. Bernardo sat in a little bit more, and De Bruyne played as more of a 10, getting up alongside the false 9, which, to be fair, worked for large periods of the game. So it's about having the basics and having the basis of a system, but then tweaking it for certain games and having changing personnel and I understand that if you change it, people are going to start saying, well, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's like when a manager's in massive trouble. We've seen it with Villa, with Lambert, Tim Sherwood, McLeish, and they go, or Bruce, we'll go to 3 at the back, or we'll go to 4-4-2. It's panic stations when that kind of thing's happening. The system changes. So they can't win whatever they do. I kind of like that he hasn't changed it in any wild way, Gerrard, because he's saying, well, this is how I think football should be played. This is how the best teams play. Yeah. This is how I want Villa to play. Yeah. Maybe we just quite a simple fact is we're not good enough to play that way at the moment.
Yeah, maybe. And I guess we'll see for the rest of the season what he does. But yeah, I think you make a really good point there in terms of when someone does change the 3 at the back, we've seen it, like you say, several times, it's normally a bad sign. So maybe it's a good thing. And I think it's just a big summer for us. It would have been nice to finish the season off in getting sort of near the 50-point mark. I think that would have been a good confidence boost, because I think it's always very difficult. I think if you finish the season badly, to then not take that into the next season, especially if the bulk of your players stay on.
Yeah, because that happened the season we stayed up. We started the next season really well because there was a bit of positive momentum there, and then we kind of ended last season pretty poorly. Yeah, and it's kind of carried on into this season. Really, exactly. Yeah. We don't want that again, but I think that's what we're going to get, because you don't feel like we're going to pick up enough points. If we lose again against Leicester, which is completely possible, the fixtures will flash up on the screen in a second. If we lose to Leicester, that's another 5 in a row.
Yeah, it's bad, isn't it?
And that's we lost 17 games at the moment, is it?
Yeah, we didn't.
Yeah, we could quite feasibly lose 20 games this season, and that would be, if you lose 20 games, usually you'll go down. Yeah, because we haven't drawn any. Yeah, with that's not the case for us, but still losing 20 games of football is hard to take.
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, I'll be honest. I'm completely honest. I've lost that Villa buzz. I've lost it. And to be honest,
the ground was flat.
Even when we had the good run under Gerrard, I still, I think it's been a difficult season for Villa fans, because I think we had such a special thing with Dino and Jack there. I think it's very difficult. It's all well and good to get Gerrard in, big name, get like someone like Coutinho in, but that sort of relationship you have with the team when you've got 2 of your own there, it's always difficult to then lift yourselves up again. And especially when you have this season that we've had, where we have like 2 or 3 good games and 3 or 4 bad games and 2 or 3 good games and 3 or 4 bad games. It's very difficult to lift yourself. But I found it very difficult to get upbeat for a game. I do it out of routine. I watch the game, go to the game, what have you. But when I'm there at the game, I'm just, I just feel a little bit nervous about every game at the moment, even when we've been on good runs. And I think that needs to change. And maybe the players are the same. if the fans are feeling like that, maybe the players are feeling the same. And as you say, it's been flat for a while at Villa Park.
It's a funny atmosphere.
Doesn't help.
It is a funny. I kind of think this season, we'd all had so long of not going. I went to that. I remember Watford away, first game of the season. I was so excited to be back going to the Villa, back going to the football, seeing people that I hadn't seen properly for pretty much a year and a half or whatever it was at that point. And you get there, you're 3-0 down at half time.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, geez. But you kind of got the goodwill because you haven't been for a while, and you're thinking it's going to pick up, it's going to get better. And I think we won the next couple of games, or we won one. I think we definitely won our next game.
Yeah.
Anyway, back at Villa Park, it was absolutely buzzing because we'd been away for so long, but because the team suddenly got really patchy in form, that bubble really burst earlier than I thought it would. I thought this season it would be special being back. We'd be able to stick with the players a bit more. I'm not knocking the fans here at all because there've been some real difficult watches this season. And they have been tough to watch at times, the Villa boys this season. But all that positivity and all that delight of being back at the football, it's completely evaporated, really. And, we would have killed for a safe, boring mid-table season a few years ago. But as I said just before, we could easily lose 20 games this season. So it makes the season feel worse than it's probably been in some ways.
That's spot on, mate. Honestly, it's really spot on. I think if you have a boring mid-season, you expect to draw quite a few games, and because we haven't, we've had.
And you don't feel as bad when you've drawn a game.
Yeah, exactly. On how it's happened. Yeah, look at Man United game when we came back 2-0.
There'd be some games like that normally in a season, wouldn't there?
Yeah, and you take that, and you lose some, you win some, you draw some, but we just seem to. You go these massive long losing streaks, and it's just very difficult.
Been killer. We've had 3 now, haven't we?
Yeah, it's very difficult, and. They're very difficult, and I think when the team's in transition, when players are getting injured as well, and players are missing chances, teams and players are making mistakes as well, it's difficult. When you lose a tight game or you draw a tight game, and it's not as bad. But when your team's making so many mistakes and missing easy chances, then it's very difficult. I think.
If we've lost games where teams haven't had to do a fat lot to beat you, even if you've only lost 1-0, I think about Newcastle away.
Yeah,
it's frustrating.
Yeah. It's really frustrating, and we've had the Arsenal game was poor, Wolves game was poor, just poor. There's poor performances in there as well. Not just if you had good performances with losing by the odd goal, you don't mind too much. But again, there's been some poor performances as well, and I think we basically just need to get through the next few games as in clean health as much as possible, clean bill of health as much as possible. Maybe try and win a few games in a row towards the end. Well, that's difficult because we've got Man City at the end and we've got Liverpool near the end.
Look at Norwich, Burnley in a row. There's a chance of 2 there.
2, yeah.
2 in a row, I would say.
We might have a big say in the title race, obviously, as well.
Getting Liverpool's goal difference up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Man City's goal difference. But, we just need to win a few games and go into next season. And the summer's going to be massive and huge. But we can't continue that cycle of every summer is massive or huge. Rip up and start again. It just can't happen. So I think eventually what's going to happen is I'm looking forward here. Obviously, we're way away from that, but if we don't have a good summer and it's a similar kind of position next season, then you don't only look at the manager, you look higher up, I think, and then you sort of have to change the philosophy and almost rebuild again because you can't keep changing 11 players, 10 players every season and changing the way that you play. I think you think about director of football and all that kind of stuff and think, is it working? Are we doing the right things higher up as well? Because eventually you can't just keep changing the manager and the same people make the same decisions and picking the wrong people. Do you understand?
We've had 2 sporting directors now.
Yeah.
2 managers. I know you've just discounted the manager thing. 2 managers. The replacing Grealish thing, I don't necessarily think that's gone fantastically with the 3 players in to replace 1. And at the moment, we can only get 1 in the team in the formation that we play at the one time. So that clearly that hasn't worked. But, the players we're bringing in, fans really, except for the first window when, we did bring in Wesley and people like that who didn't really work out. The signings we've made over the last 2 summers in particular, has anyone really looked at that and thought, that ain't going to work? I don't like what we've done there. We've come out of transfer windows feeling good.
Yeah.
I would say in the
to be honest, I think this transfer window, it didn't seem like to me to be like too much of a cohesive strategy. I think with the Ing signing in particular, I think at the time, as a fan, I was loving it 100%. I'm not going to sit here and say I thought it was a wrong decision.
Yeah, I've wanted someone like Ings for years.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if you look at the way that we play, I don't think there was before we've looked at the types of players we've bought and you think, okay, there's an idea behind that. There's a reason why we bought that type of player. In the first season, even, when we bought lots and lots of players, we bought lots of players who played together or had experience in the English league, and you sort of understood that mentality. But I think this season we've bought players like, we've needed, for example, we need a defensive midfield enforcer for ages now, for absolute ages. And we buy Sanson, who's exactly the same type of player as McGinn and Ramsey and Luis, the similar type of players. We've got Watkins there who plays a certain way in a certain style where he's all action attacker. Then we bought Ings, who's a finisher rather than all action and doesn't have the legs of a Watkins.
Works very hard though. He's he works hard, but he works hard. Despite his finishing, he runs his socks off.
He does run his socks off, but he's not as quick or can work the channels as well as Watkins. So that automatically means is he a like for like replacement? Is he going to play alongside him? Can they play together? And then the wingers as well is another thing. The types of players that we've bought. You've got Traore already, then you've bought Bailey. You've got Buendia, then you've bought Coutinho. These types of decisions, I'm thinking, that is not just the manager, that's not just the sporting director as well. I think that goes higher than that. And I'm just me massively preempting. We might end up with a really good summer and we end up 8th, 7th, and 6th. I'm not saying that, but I think you've got to plan for these things, and eventually you've got to say who's making those decisions. And who are we getting these key decisions wrong? Are we employing the wrong people? Because the owner's not going to pump. They're going to expect results for this money. The money.
Of course, they're serious. High level.
You can't continue having. If this is a world of business and your CEO was kept making the wrong appointment, kept hiring the wrong manager, then they'll be held accountable. And I'm not saying that's happened yet because we're still very early on. And at the end of the day, we've been promoted. We've built the academy up to what it is now, which is fantastic. The women's team is doing much better than it has been. And, we've cemented ourselves as a Premier League. We would have 100% taken all of that. And I think if that was your remit as a CEO, I think he's completely done that. But then going forward, if you don't push on from there, then you have to question it, I think.
I wasn't sure on Purslow after the first season. And then I really got behind him last season. I could see what we were trying to do. I've always respected the way he spoke to the fans and kept fans in the loop. So, I'm not knocking Purslow at all. The more and more I think about the summer now, though, and I think about that 3 players to replace Jack Grealish, none of them play in the position that Jack Grealish is playing. No. So really, how was that going to work? I didn't think about that at the time. It's so basic and so simple. But if you're signing 3 players to replace someone, you think at least one of them would play in the same position as that player. But none of them do.
It's not worked for any of us, is it? Not worked for Jack, not worked for us, not worked for anyone. I mean, I suppose we got 100 million out of it. And I think you have to applaud Purslow for, because he sold him at exactly the right time, if you think about it from that perspective, because that is the maximum value we could have got out of Jack Grealish, I think.
Yeah, look, he wanted to go. He wanted to go.
He wanted to go. He'd done his time. We've got great value for him. And whether he's made the right move or not, that's something for him to think about. And I guess
he'll come strong, Jack. He's too good a player. He'll be a big player for Man City.
I hope so for him. I'm still fond of him. I know most fans hate him, but I want him to do well still. But I think whether the 3, Spurs tried to do something similar, didn't they, with Bale? So whether it's the right thing or not, I guess we'll see. But I'm not knocking anyone at the moment. I think it's so early, but I'm just thinking ahead more than anything else.
The football club's in a very healthy position compared to what it is when all these guys came in. So
100%. I think when the owners came in, we would 100% taken where we are now. But I think you've got to be ambitious as a club, as a fan base. You can't I just don't want to be happy with 10th to 14th forever. I want to push on.
Then they won't be. No one's sat at the club at the moment. He's going to be happy with that realistically. People will knock people on social media and criticise performances and criticise decisions. But nobody at Aston Villa is going to be happy with where we are at the moment and keep going on these losing runs. No. Not the CEO, not the owners, not Steven Gerrard, not the players. And no one's happy about it. It's just where we are at the moment. But I was about to say we're paid to talk about this. We're not at all. But, we're here to talk about things and try and look at things as realistically and best we can. And we're trying to discuss things and look for reasons and look for why things perhaps haven't worked out the way they could have done or should have done, aren't we?
Yeah, no one's got the right answer. We're just football fans in the day. We're not, we're not experts or anything like that. We just pay. We're not paid, as the same mistake, but we're here just to talk about the game and give our best opinion as best we can. And we may be wrong, and probably 80% of the time we will be wrong. It's as simple as that.
I'm wrong all the time.
We're just wrong about the time. But we've got to talk about it. And you've got to plan for these things, and something we're passionate about, something we care about. We all care about. We want us to do well. So it's important we talk about it. It's important we sort of, look at all aspects of it, the pros and the cons, I think the most important thing is when the team's out there on the pitch, you support them. When it's outside the pitch, you've got to think constructively about the team always. And not just the team, the players, the managers, the fans, the CEO, the owners, everything. You've got to always be constructive and not take everything at face value because you want the best for the club.
Yeah. And what I just want now is a bit of a buzz back. Like you say, it's gone a bit somber. It wasn't the season I was expecting in terms of being back at Villa Park after so long away. I thought it would be more positive. There's mitigating circumstances for why it isn't all round, not knocking anyone, not knocking the fans, certainly. I just want to get a bit of buzz back. to end the season. I don't like seeing an empty Villa Park. It's horrible. Just been sat there. I've never ever left a game early in my life. I just never will because I don't know. Well, my dad never has, and he's been going for 50, 60 years. So I'll never leave early. So I'll always be sat there, whatever the score is. It's demoralising. It must be a bit demoralising for the players as well. But the fans have been demoralised by the players in some respects. So it's hard. It all goes hand in hand, doesn't it? But it's horrible being sat there. The ground's empty. You're watching the away fans have the absolute time of their life, and you're just thinking, I just want to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
And at the moment, it isn't very enjoyable. Yeah, I went to Southampton. That Southampton game, really enjoyed it. 4-0, brilliant. That's what day the football's all about. We played really well. It's just followed up by the next two at Villa Park. A 5-0 aggregate defeat. Went scored. We're not scoring. You go to football to see your team score goals. We've gone to not scoring now.
We've lost. I think we've lost so many games at Villa Park as well, which is the worst thing.
How many have we won at home? I don't actually know the answer to that question.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Hopefully the producer will have a little look for me.
Yeah, but I mean, we've lost a fair few games, and at home you expect you to be. That's where you expect to get pick up the majority of your points, and we just haven't done that. And I think that's been one of the biggest disappointments. And I think when you got it's not like Coutinho come in, there's a big buzz that goes at the back of that. And
yeah, sure.
The fact that we haven't capitalized on that is again another big disappointment because you want to keep him as much as possible. Really,
we'll sign him. I'm almost 100% sure that we'll sign
him.
The
thing is though, I mean, do you sign him?
I think you don't turn your nose up at a world-class player like that.
No, you don't.
I think we can get a better Aston Villa. We're going to get a better Aston Villa with someone like him in the team. But give him some better players to work with.
We need to build the team around him then and think of the best way of maximising his.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That's what we haven't done this season.
And I really think playing 4-2-3-1 is the way forward for that, because. I mean, there's plenty of analysis on Twitter and plenty of analysis in punditry done on Villa, and you see it all around. But I think at the moment it's just that formation, the way that we play, it relies so much on us finding those spaces in between and playing intricate balls in behind. First half was great, but how many times this season have we seen us the ball just falls away in that number 10 position because Coutinho doesn't have the option, or he plays the ball and our player's not good enough to get it, or he's got no options out wide, and it's all reliant on the fullbacks, and there's no over. We end up with this weird formation where the number 8's tuck in as inverted fullbacks almost, and we've got no support for the fullbacks, and it's just a difficult way to build up play. So I think that if I was going to say for anything for the players' mentality, for Gerrard, is finding a way to build your team around Coutinho. And making it work, because I don't think this formation that he's been employing is working, and whether it's different personnel or different way of playing it, that is what I would say needs to be fixed.
Let's have a quick look at the league table. Then I think we've depressed ourselves enough throughout this chat. We have tried to have a little look at things and try and review things rationally. 36 points. Where are we going to finish, Omar?
I think we'll probably finish where we're at now, 12th, 13th. I think,
and we've lost 7 at home, by the way, out of 15 this season.
I think that's too much. I think personally, it's a bit better than I thought it was, but still.
Well, that means we've lost 10 away games. That's not great either.
Not great either. Yeah. It's a shame though, because we were in a pretty good position to sort of cement ourselves in top 10 there. I think.
Look at Wolves, right? 8th.
Yeah.
They've only scored 33, but they've only conceded 28. So their mantra is, we're solid first, whatever else happens. And that's got them into the kind of position we want to be finishing in, really.
Yeah. I mean, you look at that and you look at the goals for and goals against. 46 against isn't amazing. It's about where we should be there in the league. But the goals scored is 42 isn't terrible. But
so what do we get? What do we garner from this? I'm not really sure
I just think we haven't. It's just the draws, isn't it? We haven't.
Yeah, that's
those losses where you just score an extra 3 or 4 goals, an extra 3 or 4 points, isn't it? And suddenly you're looking at top 10. And I think that is the key. There is finding a way to be a bit more solid.
We've lost 3 more games than Burnley.
And yeah, exactly. That's awful. That's awful. That's just so bad. That's a big indicator of mentality for me.
And I find it difficult to believe we've lost more games than Leeds after that. They were horrific.
I mean,
for a long period, but we have.
How many games did we lose when we went down? I don't think it was that much, was it?
So I'm saying we could comfortably hit 20 losses this season.
Yeah,
with games to spare.
Oh, we will. I'm pretty sure we will.
It's not good.
Yeah, if we carry on the same run rate, we'll probably win 3 and lose 4.
But we have been okay against the teams beneath us, and we do still have Norwich, Burnley left to play, don't we?
We've got Burnley twice.
Burnley twice, yeah.
Burnley twice, yeah.
So they haven't been. They've done all right against us in recent games, actually, Burnley, and they're going to be bang up. They got something to play for. I think that's part of the problem. Is I just feel like you've got nothing to play for, but there still should be some pride in there.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah,
let's go.
It's just a shame. Yeah, we've talked enough.
Let's go. It's gone on for a lot longer than I was expecting it to, that chat. But we have talked about everything. Probably 10 minutes on the game overall, and then just general chat about life at Villa in general. So thanks ever so much for tuning in. Hopefully those that have watched live have enjoyed it, and hopefully some people will catch up and have a watch of it as well. Don't forget that discount code for Purity at the bottom of the screen, and also go and vote on that poll on their Twitter and vote for which can you would like, which can design you'd like them to have to commemorate the 1982 European Cup victory's 40th anniversary. A massive mouthful to get out there. I bet that beer is lovely, because all Purity stuff is. Please send me some when those cans are ready, Purity, if you are watching. We're not going to be back, are we? Because we've got no game. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not having a game this weekend. But yeah, Liverpool are playing the FA Cup semi-final, so that game has been rearranged. We'll be back next week at some point with some content, so keep an eye on our socials and we'll let you know when that's coming. Thanks to Omar. Thanks to John. Thanks everyone for watching. Up the Villa.
Up the Villa.